Good evening, everyone. Hi, good evening. Good evening. Thank you for joining. Okay, so we have a live session today with Irene Bankwell, founder, Raising Girls, Nigeria. And we'll be talking about mistakes we make when. Good evening, Ikeade. Good evening, Irene. Good to have you here. Good evening, Peace. Yay, Miss Ashrebi. Good evening. Okay, our guest has sent in her request. And she's here. Hello, Irene. Okay, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can anyone hear her? For some reason, I can't hear you. Hi, Mysterious Yeti. Okay, so just be here. So Irene is on a tour across mom communities talking about sex educating the girl child, and she's talking about mistakes we're making in sex educating our children. So she works with girls from age 3 till I think 17, and she just shows us the correct ways to educate our children, give them sex education. I'm sure many of us can relate with the way we learned growing up. Some of us learned from others, we learned from school, but she's teaching us to be intentional about how we give this sex education. So I hope she sends a request and comes back on. Yes, so just wait for her. In the meantime, do you have any questions? Let me even ask, how was your Sunday? How was your weekend? Hope you had a restful weekend. Work starts tomorrow, life starts tomorrow. Some of us are resuming school this week. But I heard some schools are not resuming till next week. Irene, please send another request. Okay, so how's your weekend going? Please share with me. Let's chat before she comes back. I'm not sure if she's still on the call. At what age is it advisable to start teaching sex education? So I'm going to note your question, and then when we start, I'll ask her. But I've been following her for a while, and she recommends as soon as possible, as soon as they can talk and understand what you are saying. She works with girls from 3 years old, so for her it's that early. Okay, I have a request.
Hey, Mama, can you hear me?
Hey, yes, I can.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me today.
My pleasure. My big sis.
Sweetheart, congratulations on the event you held a few weeks back. I wanted to be in Lagos. I was like, I would have wanted to give you a hug that day.
Oh,
Congratulations, Mama. Congratulations.
thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
sis.
you. So I think we'll start with you introducing yourself.
Yeah.
Please introduce.
So my name is Irene Bangwell. I do two jobs. My first job, I run a charity school for children from low-income families. It's called the North 100 Naira a Day School. But then I'm also a girls coach. I'm a mother. I have two daughters. And a few years ago, I started working with girls. I was raised by a single mom, and my mom had me as a teenager, and I say it without any shadow of doubt that my mother's life was significantly altered by my birth, having me change the course of her life. And so I saw that my mom was a young person who needed love, support, guidance, um, made a decision, but carried the consequences solely without mentoring and support. So having seen the reality that my mom lived, it's my utmost passion to support girls in the way that I would have wanted my mother to be supported. And so I'm out here partnering with amazing people like Tinuke and amazing people like the pretty Miss Ashwebi that was shining all over the place last night. It's connect with people that run family-oriented communities to say, look, let's not just say we don't want our kids to end up pregnant. Let's give them all the support that they need so that they don't have to get pregnant and have to be recovering from it, you know.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about this. The world tells you that you can make it. Even if you have a child, you can go ahead and do this and do that. Sit down with someone who's been through that experience, and I'm sure they would always tell you they wish they didn't have to. So we have the opportunity as parents today to support our children so that they don't have to go that way. So it's an honor to be here. And that's my introduction with a little bit of a story there. Thank you, sis.
Thank you. And thank you for the amazing work that you are doing. Thank you for showing us that we don't have to experience something before we learn from it.
No,
So we
no, no.
appreciate that you are using experience to like guide
Yes.
our
Yes.
generation. So before you came back, a mom asked, at what age should we start sex education for girls?
So the age to start sex education for girls is, for me, age 3. However, the moment a child can say no, that you said, where did she say no? See that it says no. It means that child has a sense of knowing what they don't want. So there's a way to work with children even less than 3. But I also want to say that sex education is not the same thing as intercourse education. So sex education does not mean that you're going to teach the child about intercourse, penis, vagina. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you're going to start providing body safety education that will prevent that child from being abused or prevent that child from doing something that is sexually wrong. So that's why I prefer to use the word body safety, because that's
Okay.
what sex education is. Body safety all the way from 3 to 17 is still body safety. But there comes an age where we now have to talk about intercourse. So the right age to start is age 3. As soon as a child can say no to somebody, it means that we can deploy that ability to use to teach them body safety.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Last week we had mom reach out on the community. Her daughter, her 3-year-old, was found pants down with a toddler boy, same class, so about 3 years
Yeah.
old too. And they were found pants down, and she was called in. She was panicking, scared that she had taught her nobody should touch you, don't touch me and all. So she just felt like she had failed, and she has been wondering, does the girl know what was happening? The boy, when interviewed separately, said, oh, he used to see his bigger cousins do that. And they said this little boy actually had a hard-on when he was found. So this is what has scarred the mother. They said he was actually erect when they found him. So the mom has been worried. Does the girl know what happened? Will she forget? How do they come back from something like that? Can it be fixed?
Yes, it can be fixed, but this is really a sad story, because I always tell parents also that whenever you catch maybe your child, or you get a report that your child and another child was doing something, in that moment, you're no longer the mother of one child. You're now the mother of 2. The 2 children that are involved should become your business. You see, that boy has seen something, has been touched, and what that means is that that little boy has been abused. So it takes that boy having a certain experience repeatedly to come to make that attempt on her daughter. And so the first thing I'm going to ask her is to become invested in finding what happened to that boy and making sure the parents get that boy the support the boy needs. Now that's her own child. The real work is with, I always like to tell parents this, that look, knowledge is different from action, no? But action begins with knowledge, which means sex education is not just talking to your child, it's having enough conversations to the point that your child will know what to do if they're in a certain circumstance. So the fact that she had told her before, don't let anybody touch you, the context of what if it's my close friend? What if it's someone I like? What if the person just pulled down my pants? It's totally different from don't let someone touch you. So the context continues to differ, and so they're in a learning experience. So she needs to sit with her child and find out why did her child freeze? Was she confused? What happened? She needs to be calm about it so that the child can even think through what happened. And then she can talk to the child about, oh, next time, if this happens, if that happens. Now, if there's a lot of shaming and labeling, the memory of that incident will probably last longer than it should. So it's about her sitting down with the child to go over the situation. It's not bad yet, bad yet. In fact, the child that I'm most worried now about is the boy and the fact that he was erect. It means that that child has been abused. And that child has not have been abused once. That child has been abused repeatedly. So she needs to sit down with her child to process the event. But we need to find out whoever, the cousin, caregiver living with that boy, we need to do something about it. And that's why I'm always telling mothers that I know that we are mothers of girls, but when there's an abuse between two minors, you have two children, a boy and a girl. Don't go to school fighting the other mother as if she sent her child to you. She's also in a difficult situation like you are. Let her see that beyond what has happened to your child, you're interested in her son's well-being. And in so doing, we're able to support all the children involved. That's my own take. So right now, the child that has the emergency problem is the boy that had an erection at 2 or 3. Somebody has abused that child repeatedly. And so now she needs to keep talking to her child, comforting the child. I love you. I see you did something I'm not proud of, but I love you. And I know you can do better another time. I know you will do better another time. So let's talk about this. What if this happens? What do we do? What if that happens? What if I feel fear? That's one of the mistakes we're making. We don't take into cognizance the emotions that children feel when they have to make body safety decisions. So I think that the child is so redeemable, 1000% times redeemable. But let's first lock up the person abusing the boy. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Please, if you have any questions, them in the question box, so we can ask her through the course of this conversation.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we got another question. At what age do girls start having crushes?
So the ideal age for crushes, because crush is a part of puberty, so it's when they start going through puberty that they start having crushes. And technically it's around, I used to know that it was 9 years old, but I'm seeing early puberty coming in when they're 8.5 towards 9. So that's about the age. Having crushes is a sign of puberty. Unfortunately, I hear mothers say, or parents generally say, oh, my daughter is just 6 and she has a crush. And I say, no, she doesn't. She doesn't have a crush. She likes someone in her class and she just likes the terminology crush and she's using it. I remember when my second daughter asked me once, what's the difference between, I mean, why are you saying it's not a crush? What's the difference? I said, crush is preoccupying imagination. They're sitting in class, it's him they're thinking about. Girls younger than 8, just like the boy, when it's time for playground, share with me, play with me, they just want to play with him, nothing, is not more. So when they're younger, the word is not crush. And so we need to start teaching our kids that they can like a classmate, they can like a classmate of the opposite sex, and they can want to be friends, and it's nothing romantic. But crushes have deep romantic roots where they even start to imagine that they are married and have kids. So the age is 8.5 towards, yeah. Meanwhile, there's some kids that don't really have it like that. They're not that excited. I've met 12-year-olds that like they've never been crushed. I mean, there are kids like that. We pray we have those though, but I've not been that fortunate. I have daughters and they've been crushing since 1942. So it's not a so yeah, about the time crushes begin.
There was something I heard you say in one of the sessions. I don't remember which of the communities now, And you said your girls won't start dating. Is one of your values, and
Yeah,
they won't start dating till like 21, 22.
22, 22.
Okay, so usually, we hear that, okay, from 18, like when they go to university, they start to, I don't know. So what informed that decision for age 22?
So, two things. The first thing is that scientifically it's proven that prefrontal, again, what they call it, the frontal cortex of a woman's brain never developed finish reach 21 years old. Hey. And the thing about that brain development is that you fantasize more than you're logical. I prefer that they fantasize over things that are non-logical. They'll fantasize over things that are non-relationship than to be playing with relationships. So as I'm sitting down here, the second thing that is my personal experience. My personal experience showed me that the guys you like at 18, when you're 24, you want to hit yourself like, what was that?
What
Like,
was I
like,
thinking?
what was that? What were the choices you were making? So you're 18 and 19, he's in first year or second year. He's all the cool, frisky swag. It's about how he dresses, how he talks, how he does romantic stuff. You're not yet aware of work ethic, vision, purpose, fear of God. You're not aware of all those things. And those are the things that matter. So if they get into a relationship too early, their ability to say no to sex is very low. They won't be able to. The pressure they can give in. If you see girls who say they kept their virginity, chances are that they didn't start dating early. But when they start dating early, many things are missed because the relationship has a demand. What I want to do with themselves, first and foremost, they're not working on anything. Compared to relationships that happen when you're in your late 20s. If you're waiting to go to university, you guys are trusting God for NYSC posting, internship opportunity. There's things to work on. But when they're younger, there's nothing to work on. And the truth of the matter is, I really want my girls to find themselves before they meet guys. I want them to become, you understand? I want them to become who God designed them to be. I want them to find their strength. In fact, this evening, I just created an Instagram handle for two of my daughters. They like to create stuff. So I created a handle for them today. I said, let's find one adventure to know your person, your interests, your likes. And for me, I feel that when they're in secondary school, schoolwork kind of occupies that time. But after secondary school, go discover yourself first. You want to go to Mount Everest, go and come back. And go and see whether that's what you. I want them to find themselves first. And even though I said they should date at 22, I expect any of my daughters to be married before 25. Do you get?
Yeah.
I want you to know what you want out of your life. I want them to cultivate a relationship with God, that they have mastery of what they have. Oh, there are things that I thought I had, Ben. Right now, I know if it wasn't my fear talking, it was my feeling, sentiment, preoccupying thoughts telling me, sounding like the Holy Spirit to me. So I want them to grow up into where they've harnessed their relationship with God, they found themselves, and they're not falling over a guy changing their life. I'm not working this hard for them to wait for a boy that will change their life. Do you understand?
Fact. Yeah.
Working hard for that. Working hard so that they have the liberty to go find themselves. I didn't have that liberty. I was trying to find myself, trying to start life. Having been raised by a single mother who raised me alone, there were a lot of times I had to fend for myself. There were times that you thought in the guys, oh, somebody coming to support you. But I don't do that for my children. I'm here to support you so you can find yourself and get on your life's journey. So when I say 22, I want them to find themselves and find who God wants them to be and be able to think for themselves. I want them to be able to know that they can like someone but say no to them. Because beyond how I feel about you, you don't look like my future, or you don't look like someone whose future I want to be a part of. For me, it is from the get-go. And for my girls, I tell them that sex before marriage is a biblical principle and God put it in there for a reason. The moment your legs are open, your thinking brain flies out. You can't see what is wrong. And if you get pregnant for the wrong guy, even if you don't marry him, he's going to be a part of your life forever by virtue of the fact that you're going to be raising kids with him. So I don't want any entanglement. Do you get the idea? As I'm having this life session, my two daughters are sitting in this room with me. So as I talk to you, I talk to them, you understand? We're doing choir class right now. So when we are done, they have some earpieces, they're watching some videos. So when they're done, they'll ask me, then what was that about? And we'll retreat the conversation. So that's it for me,
That's
sis.
you. From following you, I noticed that everything is an opportunity for you to reinforce those values with them.
Yeah.
And I think that really helps. And somebody just asked, I think it's connected. She said, what if you start to educate early about godliness and marriage? Does it make a difference with how old they get married if you start educating them early?
Okay, so there's a way you can educate them early and they become fixated on marriage. You understand?
Mm.
You can educate them, they start to be fixated on marriage. Who is it going to be? But the context that I go with is what safe relationship is and what a successful marriage is. So I'm telling them those qualities and I'm helping them see who embodies it and whether they embody it themselves. So we need to talk to them more about godly marriages, what they look like, what they sound like, what the people involved are like. All right. If that's the context we're taking, I want to just tell us that there's nothing that we do that determines when our children will be married. That one knows our hand. We don't have control. But you're just saying that whenever it comes, I want my child to be able to make a wholesome decision without me needing to press and to say, can't you see? Don't you know? You know? So I don't think we can necessarily determine when things happen for our kids, but we can determine the quality of humans that they are by the time those things happen. And that's my focus. Man that ends up marrying my daughters just bought a bag of peace of mind and went home. That's my promise. But I have 9 years to make sure it's in the package, you understand?
Mhm.
9 years
Yeah.
to make sure that the child I'm bragging about, I have actually raised. So that's my focus, raising someone who embodies the success that I want to see. Yeah.
Thank you. Please leave your questions. So I I had my first degree in Unilag, or I did my first degree in Unilag, and there's a way they do this back then. I was in my first year and I was placed in a room with final year students
Yeah.
when they were allocating, and
Hostel.
the hostels. And these ladies would be going out in the evening. And then one time, they used to pester me a lot. I had to leave that room eventually. But they'll tell me, that if you don't do it now, you won't be able to have children later. Or if you do this, if you don't have sex before this age. And I can say now in retrospect that what held me back was fear. Not necessarily because I knew what they were saying was a lie, but because of my Christian background, because of fear, growing up in that very strict. So how do you find that balance? What style do you use? Because I didn't do it, but that was because of my Christian upbringing. So how do we balance?
You you stand out amongst many. There are many people that had Christian backgrounds, but they couldn't withstand the pressure. But if you notice what they were saying, it thrives on ignorance. When you're naive, they can impress you, they can blow you away. Do you know that in my 10 over 10 girl mentoring squad, I teach girls about separating facts from opinions at age 6 to 8. My approach is build the skill that allows your child tear apart logic that is flawed. Because the girls that went with what the pressure was, many of them were convinced that the final year students were right just because they were in final year. So my approach is getting my daughters to think about stuff. My approach is also to discuss extensively, practically with my girls, which is part of the mistakes that parents make where we just tell them what we want to we expect. We don't pay attention to the pressures that they're dealing with. Pressure of opinion, pressure of news, fake information that is coming out there. If you really loved him, you will have sex with him. That's how you prove to him that you love him. And so my daughters, we've talked about this, for example, my daughter, so there's a girl that used to be in my school and she would say, Ma, is it true that there is no love without sex? And I'm like, so prostitutes have sex every day. Is there love there? And so it would just make you stop and think, that's true. So people can have sex without loving each other. That logic is flawed. So for me, is building our children's ability to question what they hear, but also being a present place they can bounce off pressure moments from. Mom, is it true that? Mom, is it true that? Mom, is it true that? And then one mom is not that they can think. Like if someone doesn't if you want to expand your hips, when you have sex, your hips will be expanded. I want my daughter to be able to Google that. Does sperm help expand hip? Is there a mechanical process that helps expand hip during sex? So for me, I'm trying to give my girls supporting skills that allows them question what they hear so that they don't receive that pressure. Now, if you feel ignorant, the pressure will hit you. If you don't know what to do, the pressure will hit you. But by the time the senior girls are talking, you're talking back. They themselves are making those decisions on the wrong footing. So if they find you, even if we're a first year student, making a lot of sense, speaking a lot of truth to them, you will win some of them over if you do it with confidence and conviction. And that's my goal. I want my girls to be knowledgeable and be able to make decisions with confidence and conviction.
Thank you. Someone is asking, how do you plan to ensure that your girls abide by that time frame? What if something happens before 21 that sweeps them off their feet?
All right, so here's my approach to it. It's gisting. It's not, it's law, but it's not law. It's law in the sense that I first told my girls, we want to get the best outcome. We want you in a relationship where the man honors God, honors himself, and honors you. And so we are on the adventure of meeting guys and assessing whether or not we see some of those criteria, right? So I will give my daughters permission to argue with me right now about how it works. I know it's easier now because they're young, right? And there's no pressure yet. But I'm present for the pressure moment. I have older teenagers that I would say, don't do it. Oh, if you want to do it, this is my logic, this is my this is my that. I don't breathe over their necks and say it has to be so. I tell them that that's the safer thing to do. But in the event that they try something, I know that there's going to be some bonding. So I've kept the relationship open to say, if you still come back and tell mommy, mommy, I met this guy, I think I really like him. I say, but you remember we said nothing to 22. What's making you change that stance now? Right? So for instance, in one of my resources for girls, I have a place where I ask the girls when they're aged between 12 to 14 to write the criteria of the kind of relationship they want to be in. And they write it down. And I tell them, any day you want to change something in that line, bounce it off your mother. So if I tell my daughter don't date till 22, I'll move on to say, write the criteria of the kind of man that you want to do stuff with, the kind of man you want to date, the kind of man you want to be in a relationship with. Write it down. And because we have a core principle that there will be no sex before marriage, one of the top criteria has to be a guy that is not asking me for sex. So what that means is that anytime you want to change your mind and say, I saw somebody I want to try, I tell them, bring that checklist, let's run through it again. Is it this? Is it this? And so even in having a non-judgmental conversation, you can get a child who wanted to make the wrong decision to reconsider it. So I tell them that Bangalore girls are body smart, and we know the importance of value-laden relationships where there's safety and honor and growth and love. That's the 4 principles for us: safety, honor, growth, and love. And love is the bottom. Safety, honor, growth, and love. So that's the 4 criteria I tell my kids that we're looking for in relationships. So if she meets a guy at 21, she has to convince me that the guy is able to give her safety, honor, growth, and love. And love is at the bottom. Love is at the bottom. Love is at the bottom, bottom, bottom. Because even after you marry, what keeps the marriage is safety, honor, and growth. There are days that love goes on a holiday. So, so if she meets 21, I'm going to tell her, let's look at our checklist. In what ways does he fit this 4 wheel that we are discussing with? And these 4 things I'm talking about, I've told my daughters about them, especially my first, because my second is a 10-year-old. We've not yet entered the relationship part, but my mother that is becoming a teenager in 2 weeks. We've decoded it. When I was teaching a particular master class last year, I taught her first before I taught the master class. And so she would ask me things about my relationship with her dad, things she was saying in other people's relationships, whether it was neighbors or anybody else. And she would people say, is that why this happens like this? Is that why? Yes. And then some people say when they're older, they forget. I thought that if you have a good relationship with your kids, when they are toddlers, you enjoy them when they're preteens. You have a good relationship with them when they're preteens, you'll enjoy them when they're teens. And so that's what I'm steadily investing in, to have a good relationship with them everywhere. So this night now, they're hanging out with me. I'm doing live session in the office. I've pulled them out of the house. I could have left them at home, but we're here together. All of those things is helping me earn legitimacy, in being able to tell them, let's not do this now, and they'll listen to me. So I'm using the relationship that we have to be able to ensure that they're able to stay grounded on the standards we've put in place, while making sure that I have fed them with enough dialogues and conversations that support whatever principle I'm trying to get them to abide by. Yeah.
Thank you. So among the criteria, safety, just out of curiosity, how will you describe safety?
Anybody that their decisions at any time will not put you in harm's way.
Okay.
So when I meet a guy, how do I know I'm safe with him? He doesn't need to hit me for me to know I'm not safe with him. So I look at a range of the choices that he makes. Choices he makes when he's excited, when he's upset, and it tells me what he will be exposing me to. So if he's drinking alcohol, I run the risk of him saying something or even raping me under the influence. If he can argue with a policeman, I'm inside his car, he can get us into trouble with the police. He smokes and does drugs, he exposes me to risk of consumption, risk of being in company with him when he's arrested by NDLEA. So safety for me is, what kind of choices does this person make as a person? And so that's why one of the principles I'm teaching my daughters is that we are friends before we date. I tell them as a principle, don't date anybody you've not been friends with. So hang out with them, let them be your guy first. Let's see what they are on the regular. And then we use that to assess whether we feel completely safe whenever we're around this person before we can say, okay, let's become a matter. Yeah. So that's why, you know, if they date early 18, they don't know how to separate this thing. The moment they meet a guy, he called me, he sent me number. But when you're 21, 22, and I'm thinking my daughters will be in their third year, if God wills, we should be in their third year in the university around that age. You don't get small sense by that time. You don't hear enough breakup story. Your body know they sweet like that again. So you should be able to help. Yeah.
Thank you. So your mom is saying, I got married a virgin. Right now, I'm not sure if I kept it solely because of the things my mom told me about virginity. No, I got married a virgin. Right now, if I kept it solely because of the things my mom told me about virginity, I would absolutely be disappointed. Sugar, are you asking a question or leaving a comment?
So maybe she's trying to say, so how do we tell our daughters to keep their virginity for the right reason? For instance, whatever reason her mother gave her, she's disappointed. She can't use that as a business to tell her daughters. So for example, what we were told was that, I don't know what that woman's story is, but there are women who kept their virginities for husbands that are cheating on them, running all over the place. And it's not worth it, you know. You're a woman of honor, but here you are with someone that is crazy. So for my daughters, I told them that you don't keep your virginity for your husband. You see, you keep virginity to honor God. So virginity has never been about the man. Virginity is an exclusive relationship between you and God, where you're telling God, I'm going to honor you. I'm going to make what you want the most important thing. And so when I do that, to honor God, my eyes are even sharper to know that because I even get myself, but there's a guy that I shouldn't do stuff with. I'm just thinking that many of us worship the virginity and not the father that we are keeping the virginity for. We take virginity, but not enough relationship. Some parents told their daughters to keep virginity, but not the ability to choose the right person. Not the ability to choose someone that will not break their heart. Not the ability to choose somebody that will honor. It was like, keep your virginity is automatic. So I'm saying, you're going to keep your virginity, but I know that it's not the only thing that is going to lead to responsible decision making. Do you get my point? So as you're keeping your virginity to honor God, you have to grow in your relationship with God. You have to learn about your purpose and assignment in God. You have to know that your life has value and meaning. For example, one of the things that triggers me is when I meet a woman that says that, oh, because of her husband, she can't do this, she can't do that. I'm like, what do you guys mean? What are you guys talking about dating? Because I met my husband in a workshop he was organizing. So apparently, God understands that you met me on the road. Oh. Now for road, we meet. That means periodically, I go there for road. I'm not taking my husband for granted for this. So But that was one of the things that stood out for me, because you would know that you have an assignment. So keep your virginity, but also understand that virginity is 1/10 of what produces valuable relationships. And this sex education we are talking is more than keep your virginity. It's more than keep your virginity. You get the idea? So I understand. I don't know where she's coming from, but I get the point. But we can't just throw keep your virginity before you marry. No. There are virgins that are sweating. There are virgins that are traumatized. The marriage was not worth it. There are virgins that are divorced. The marriage was not worth it. It's a covenant to God. And it is 1/10 of the things that make for a responsible relationship. Some men like virgins because they want to be sure that nobody has been there, but they've run all over the world. So, but we don't want to go there, my sister. That's a different message. You should do a different life on that one, honestly. So don't just stop at virginity. There are other things that pertains to what makes a your child is married and you're not attending WWP for that. You didn't join NSPPD so that the husband stops beating her. I mean, sis, you know how I started talking with you. I would come and listen to stories that moms were sharing with you, and I will tell you that there are parenting gaps in these stories. Do you remember, sis? So, you remember? There are parenting gaps. You're seeing, there are things that mothers didn't teach their daughters. There are things that we didn't teach our girls. A man is dating someone, so therefore, if you don't want to, shut up. So you see, there's a strong problem. And we want to pump our daughters so much that there's a way a guy talks to them and they're like, hold on, what did you say? You said smart talk. Not be smart talk. Carry my bag. Say, all right, now, we go see later. We go back. It's what we need to do. It's what we need to do. Too many women are hurting. Oh, it's not men versus women, oh, but the lack of skill, the lack of knowledge in women to know how to identify a man that honors them. What about the women that meet men that honor them, but they prefer the one with drama? Have you seen that one?
It's sad.
It's really sad. So sex education is something that all of us need to prioritize. We need to prioritize it, honestly. And it is not just private part and public part, oh. It's all the way, the whole spectrum, all the way to how you walk down the aisle. You get, so that's it for me.
Thank you. She just
And he's looking at me and laughing. That's your business.
So the same mom wrote, some moms will say you're keeping it for your husband, but when I got to know the godly aspect and how it would honor God, I got more motivated. I got into a covenant with God. Grateful.
Yes.
Please put your questions in the question box.
Since we must not
Another
forget our 5 things, though. We must not forget the 5 things that we have to talk about, honestly.
Let's suck your brain first. So another thing I like about your style of coaching, is that, like you said, the focus is not on private parts or public parts, but it's a very wholesome. And something that struck me, I went to a boarding house. There was something you said one of these days that when a girl focuses on boys early on, she doesn't get to discover herself. When it's time for sports and she's running, she'll be conscious of her boobs jumping or whether her skin is long or short. And this way, a girl doesn't get to know herself, discover herself, her strengths. So that's something else I really like about your coaching style. That self-awareness, knowledge, self-awareness.
It's critical. Yes.
Okay. We have a question, and I'm sure we'll get there. How do I teach my 3-year-old about sex education?
How do I teach my 3-year-old about sex education? So for 3-year-olds, any age you want to teach, always have something in mind. What are typical situations that the child will find themselves that they need to protect themselves from sexual harm? So what are typical situations? We look at caregiver abuse. They're left to someone at home who has access to their physical body, who can touch their private parts, legitimately. and the person abuses it. So we prepare the child for that. We look at what can happen when they go to church or Islamia. They wanted to use the toilet, there was a minder, one thing led to the other, somebody touched their private part. You look at their interactions with peers. And so because you've thought about all the situations they will be in, you now call them. You tell them that our body parts, so there are parts that can be seen and there are parts that cannot be seen. There are parts that can be touched and there are parts that should not be touched. And they shouldn't be touched by other people, old or young. And even if it's someone that has been so kind to you, loves you so much, buys candies, buy gifts, the moment they start looking like they want to touch a private part is a red flag. If they touch a private part and say that they are sorry, tell them it's okay. But as soon as you get home, tell mommy and daddy. Let mommy and daddy know that this person touched my private part. It doesn't matter how kind this person has been. It doesn't matter how much this person loves you. It doesn't matter how special this person treats you. The moment they touch a private body part, there's wahala. We have to come and tell them. If they tell you to promise you will not tell, promise them you will not tell. For the safety of the child, promise you will not tell. Tell them it's okay. Tell them you've forgiven them, but that you don't think they should touch you there again. And the moment mommy comes back, you tell. So 3 to 5 year olds, that's it. You start to tell them that, but you see that thing I told you has different colorations. There are days that you tell them, in school, when you're going to toilet, make sure nobody enters the toilet with you because you can't see everything in one day. It has to be continual. You enter the toilet, don't let anybody come in. When other people are in the toilet, don't peep. If somebody comes to tell you they want to show you their private part, say no. Now you're thinking about all the possible scenarios. So you come on social media, look at that story since you asked us. A boy came, say your best friend says, pull your dress, I want to show you something. You say, no, my dress should not be pulled by other people. You're not supposed to see my private part. Oh, you're in the room. An adult came in, I wanted to change. Leave the room. You're not supposed to see their private body area. Oh, you wanted to enter mommy's room. You knock because they're not supposed to bump into adults having sex. I don't know if you understand. So you look at all the possible scenarios that would either expose them to see something that will stick in their imagination and push them to take action, or anything that will get other people touching them. All right? So
Okay.
I don't stop helping to better female children. Once the child is 3 years old, let mommy take over. Let mommy take over. Let daddy stop beating her. In fact, the age is 2. And daddy will not do anything. Oh. Daddy will not do anything. But we want your daughter to grow up with the consciousness that a man is not supposed to touch her body. So it's not because daddy will do something. We need to disabuse our minds that crazy people all over the place, but there are a lot of honorable men. We're not going to let crazy people come and color the narrative for honorable men. But once a girl is 2, after her second birthday, daddy Odabo
For her
on bathing
sake,
the baby.
but it's
Yes,
for her
yes.
sake.
It's for the child's sake. Yes.
Okay. And at what age do you stop birthing siblings that are different genders?
So me, I feel
When?
like when they're 5, male and female,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
When they are 5, they need to stop dating together. You see that 6 to 8 window? Hey, la la lo. That 6 to 8 window. You know, in addition to their curiosity, they start talking. They talk. They ask questions. They can go to people and say, I saw the next penny, so it was looking like this. They say where they talk. So let them date separately. That age group can talk. That age group is trying to make sense of relationships. That's the age they get to, and your husband will call you, and your child will look at you and say, your husband is calling you. She cannot say, my daddy is calling you again. 3 to 5 is daddy is calling you. Once you enter 6 to 8, your husband is calling you. And as they're sitting inside class with a boy, in their mind, they've married him, they've done white wedding. That's their territory. If another girl crosses, they fight the girl. So once they, before they get to 6, let everybody get shower time. This time is shower time for girls. When girls are bathing, close the door. They finish, they come out to dress, separate them. If you should be able to, because 6 to 8, they are powerful people.
Bring your
Honestly.
questions. Okay, so let's do the 5 mistakes now. What mistakes are we making in sex education?
So I started talking about I've already started talking about them already in some sort of way, but let me highlight them. So the first thing I want to talk about is that the state of a child's emotions determines the sexual choices they make. And many parents don't recognize that. So I'm going to tell you 5 different scenarios where we pressure our girls to do the wrong thing without knowing. All right. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is number one, our girls are pressured by the way they look. So there's an age our girls get to, if they feel that they are not beautiful, they need the validation of boys to feel beautiful. And the question is, what do they do to get that validation? So for instance, your daughter has a crush on a boy, and Irene, you sent that to Irene, and Irene said they shouldn't tell the boys about their crushes, they shouldn't act on their crushes. But your daughter doesn't feel beautiful. So she needs the boy to like her back so that she feels desirable. One error we are making is that we are bastardizing our daughter's self-esteem, and we are hoping that they will make responsible sex decisions. They can't. They are needy of boys. They can't. So that's your daughter that you shame, you embarrass, you use all the negative adjectives on, compare her with all the neighbors in the whole place. That particular child is not capable of making wholesome sexual decisions, because the idea that she feels that she's not beautiful or she's not good enough makes her rely on what boys say to feel beautiful. And girls like that will do anything to get and keep a boy's attention. It doesn't matter how wrong you think it is. You know, one time I had an experience with this girl. I can't tell the details because of client privileges. But when I met that child, you know how they say a child was doing something with a boy at school? They walk into counseling to meet with you, and you're expecting a girl chewing gum, cropped up, you're expecting all those kind of things, and you're waiting and you're praying under your breath that, Lord Jesus, go ahead of me on this one. And the child walks in, she looks straight out of Deeper Life boot camp.
Wow.
Yeah. And the girl walks in, and as you're interacting with her, you discover that she has no self-concept. She has no self-identity. She doesn't, and she's so intelligent academically, but she can't recognize it. She doesn't think it counts. So she will even do stuff with boys that she's not having a relationship with. A boy can call and say, meet me in the toilet. She will get up and go. Hey. The first error we are making is that, in one hand, we bastardize the self-esteem of our daughters. And in the other hand, we expect them to make decisions that only self-confident girls can make. It's not adding up. Do you understand? Our first errors. Number two, still related to that, we have a situation where when children are growing up, the most stable support or source of love that they have is their parents. But when they get into teen years, they have back to back misunderstandings with parents. So they start to feel not loved, they start to feel not seen, they start to feel not valued. So they turn around to friends. There's a logic that when they get into teen years, they no longer listen to us as parents anymore. It doesn't happen to all kids. Yes, they have friends, but there's how they accommodate friends. Are you watching a documentary with snakes? Allow me do this like the deadly position. Skip it. I don't want to see a snake while I'm doing this live. Sorry, one of my daughters is watching something directly opposite to me, and I saw a snake, and it's not funny, my sister. I need my picture, my view to be right, honoring God. Do to skip it. All right. Okay. So back to the conversation. So parents are the stable relationship they have. Once there's that relationship is threatened, anxiety sets in. They can stick with friends that they know don't really care about them. They can stick with friends that don't really care about them. I have counseled a girl that said, they didn't really love me. And so when they were asking me to have sex, I knew it wasn't because of love, but I did it anyway. Do you understand? We need to stop playing with our relationship with our children. We need to stop playing with it, because you're throwing them into you're pushing them away. The system that is leading to a lot of problems is that, you see mobile phones, right? We need to stop using devices as status symbols. Devices are present, devices are consistent, there's a consistent, sis, anything you consistently see, consistently hear, it's going to shape your beliefs. So we have many parents that are so busy, we don't have time to have conversations. Then you have those same children who don't have parents that are willing to have conversations, have access to phones where they're consuming other people's views and ideas on a regular basis. So you come and talk once. Those other people talk 1,000 times before you talk once, 1,000 times before you talk once. And then every time I tell parents that even if you want to hand over a device to a child, you have to build something in them that makes them hunger for the right content first. That is work. So we're not doing the groundwork for what we want to see. We think it's automatic. Many of us say our parents didn't tell us anything. If our parents didn't tell us anything, if you went to church or you went to Sunday school, you at least heard that sex before marriage is sin. But there were still people that did a lot of things. You knew it was wrong, but you still did a lot of things. And now we are repeating the same things, not talking consistently enough. Since I started doing this boot camp, I'm advertising this period in 2021. It used to be 3 times a year. During the holiday, 3 days. And one day the Holy Spirit asked me, times 3 is what? 9. You met the girls for 9 days in a year. 9. Satan met them for the remaining number of days. He bombarded them. Look at Bobrisky. Bobrisky are making it as influencers. And your child is looking at that, looking at you, cutting money, managing, planning. Your other thinks that something is wrong with your worldview, that the other worldview works better. So we need to make consistent effort where they're getting a build-up. My mentoring squad does meet every Saturday. If they're not watching a lesson online, we're doing a live session. But there's consistent conversation. Some people say, thank you so much. And they want me to say, I'm sure she has changed. She cannot change. She cannot change. I spoke to her for 3 days. Do you get? It's 3 days. And it's 1 hour a day. But let's start from there. But after that, we need to keep the communication lines open. That is one of the mistakes we're making. You talk once and you go away. Are you joking? Let me open my notes so I don't miss anything. Sorry, sis. These girls need to have. Even for girls to make responsible decisions, I think without the notes today will be good. Even for girls to make responsible decisions, there are certain skills they need to have. One of it is that they need to have the ability to overcome the fear of missing out. So you're their parents. Every September, you buy the latest school bag. You buy the trending shoe. You buy the trending bag. Your daughters are always up to date. And you're telling them that, I mean, you don't know the sacrifice I make. I don't ever want them to see something and they don't have it. You've programmed that wherever it is happening, fulfillment comes from being a part of it. So your daughters don't have the ability to see a trend and be okay with not being a part of it. Because they will feel pressured by their classmates to date. They will go to class and the classmates to do on Valentine, they'll do as if the Queen of England is looking for them. Your daughter has to look at them and know that they are lying. They're showing you the part that is sweet. They're not showing you the trouble they're going through. Do you get the idea? So we need to raise girls that have their sense of self-identity and they don't need anybody or any trend to validate them. One of the things that has helped me is this low cut that I carry. Anything, I go and meet my husband, he will barb my hair, or I'll go and barb my hair. I say because this is who I want to be.
Yeah.
Like I think in the last 9-10 months, I have not had foundation on my face. Do you know that sometimes I go everywhere with my makeup purse, everywhere, but I don't remember to. And I've told my daughters that I love people who take the time to make up. I admire it, but it's not my thing. Whenever I use foundation, my eye is red for days. I rarely talk about that. My eye is red for days. And so I said, God, powder. The moment I put anything on my skin, my eye starts to itch and become red. So I know what is good for me. The only thing that's remaining, some of my friends are on this call, they'll abuse me thoroughly. I just need to start skincare routine so that the skin will pop, since the makeup is not adding up. But what has happened is that my daughters have watched me be different. And so I tell them, that people say, if you know you're the who is who, buy this. If you know you're this is, rent this. If you know that the who is this, the thing has to do with identity and identification. Irene will never be a part of it. And so I'm passing on that value to my kids, because that small fear of missing out thing is what the whole peer pressure and teenage thing is all about. And we have to equip them for it. We have to equip them to be satisfied with that. And the final thing we're missing is that a thinking child is an arguing child, is a child that will make responsible choices. Thinking, arguing, responsible choices. A thinking child is the arguing child.
Okay.
Is the one that will make responsible decisions. There are kids, there are calm children. Some of us have calm personalities. Like as I'm talking to you, Tinuke, you're calm. Nobody can take it away from you. Yeah. We can smell it from a distance that you're drama-free. So there are people like you in the world who are just calm. When your parent talks, you listen, you understand, you don't have any argument, you're fine. Any day you have a question, you go gently. But then you have the children that as parents are talking, they're like, we've heard you, mommy. We've heard you. What next? What else can I do? They'll move on quickly. Parents like those ones. But some of them have already decided what they want to do. So they don't need to put you in a conversation. But you have that child that you talk once, you say, well, mom, why does it have to be like that? Go and check out the handle of parents where Sabi. She does video with her daughter. You see how they argue?
Yes.
That's gold. Mommy, let us do it like this. What are the things children like that do? They help you get rid of unnecessary sentiments so that you can hit the meat of the gist and give them the real value. If you have such a man, you marry, mommy, how can you say you go to her? Mommy, how can you say that? What if I got born again? What if I got this? What if? By the time they ask you that, you start to bring it out and say, honestly, the reason I'm saying is that so that shame does not come to you. That's the most important thing. After you go to hell, you do this. When they start to argue with you, they help you get to the meat of the gist so that you give them value. So my daughters have two personalities, but two of them are engaging. One of them does not allow you finish your sentence. She has an counter argument. Some two of them are in this room. I will not call names because we are going to have wahala. But them will sit down and say, mommy, I hear you. I hear you. But what if this happens? You not finish. What? They've entered. It does not mean disrespect. As an African parent, forget about disrespect. It's the child that is talking, that is hearing what you're saying, the one that is countering you. Because we need to parent them as if they're going to leave our homes. If they leave our homes without what we are saying being correct, they will think that they are running away from us. They'll think that finally I'm getting away from you, not knowing that they are going into the lion's den. And whatever they do after we leave our homes, we are the primary people that will carry the problem with them. So yeah, my daughters should be ingrained. Let us do the argument now. My second daughter, oh Lord, how did I do this? How did I do this? She will ask you whether something is really necessary. Is it really important? Okay, so let me give you an example. She had a cold. She came back with a cold that she tried to pass on to me, and God helped me to resist and resist and resist. And so we said, don't drink cold water for now. And she was like, can I just take a little bit of it and mix it with normal water so that the temperature, Mom, the temperature is not going to be as cold. And I look at her intently and I say, no. All right, what if I leave it for a little bit of time? No. Do you get?
Yeah.
Do you understand? If I give an instruction, somebody asks me, which of your daughters will not do it immediately? If Even if I was sleeping, I would turn and call the person's name. But okay, you see them, you know them. But you see that child, when she has conviction, she will correct the whole school. You will do it, she will correct you. She will tell you it shouldn't be done like that. And I said this yesterday when I was with Mrs. Shebi. When she was growing up, you know the children that wear dirty clothes and put them back in their drawers. And your brain wants to explode. Like you wore it. You wore it. Did you wear it? Say yes. Then you removed it. Yes. Then you folded it. Not inside laundry, inside this. So I started teaching her about you have to treat yourself with honor. Treat yourself with kindness. If something is dirty, it shouldn't come on your body. If something is this, I've been saying it for so long, and my full circle came last. No, 2 days ago.
Yay.
You know, with the boot camp coming and everything, I had cooked marathon cooking, stored in the fridge. And so we had this thing with live, but so I moved things from one fridge to the next. And so I brought out 2 bowls of soup. They were the same soup, but I told them, I am sure that this one is still as fresh. Let me warm this for you guys. Let me warm this one for myself in case it has anything. I think maybe it has any problem, I can manage it. And she turned around and looked at me and asked me, why would you treat yourself like that? Why would you treat yourself? Why would you eat soup that something has started happening to?
Wow.
And in that moment, I looked at her and I said, we come full circle. You get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Those arguments, those disagreements are part of the learning process, as long as the parents doesn't take it personal. Because the moment you take it personal and start saying you're being disrespectful, the child will not have counter argument in the future. They have a different opinion, they don't agree with you, they've heard something else, but they're not saying it. I mean, I want them to be able to say it, including the most silly things they hear in school. I want my daughter to be able to say, Mommy, but I heard that if you do this, a man will do this. If you do that, and I'll tell your father, now let's start with him. Has he done it? And it will be practical. And so that's the relationship. That's why I can do this live session with my daughter sitting in front of me. Because as this session is finishing, the drive back home, hey, we would talk till our mouth is here. And this time I was 2 years old. And when one of my neighbors came to me in my former house, and she asked me, who lives with me? I said, it's me and my daughter. When she came out too, she looked at me and said, Madam, now the person who they talk to me this, I say yes. She said, when she's in her house and hearing us talk and discuss, she used to think talking to an adult. I say no. So I would say things like, my first daughter, my sweetheart, before I land the bomb. She used to have problems taking correction when she was a baby. So so when you correct her, she will fume. And so I tell her to say, I take correction easily and happily. So when she does something and you correct her and she's having an attitude and she's crying, I told her, oh, she's crying. She's sorry. I said, no, she's not sorry, she's angry. So I'll call her, she'll come and say, all right, let's go. She said, I take correction easily and happily. I take correction easily and happily. But my second daughter, I can expect that thing is all over the place. She can turn this whole place upside down in a split second. So for her, when it was her time, her own was, I am a leader and I act like one. I'm a leader and I act like one. We're not fighting. Me. She'll be like, "Mama, they tell 2-year-old be that." I say, "Nah, it's so." But looking back, those children are now almost 11 and almost 13, and the kind of conversations I can have with them. In fact, when I was trying to think about that, what is my niche in coaching? Everyone that knew me back then in Facebook said, Irene, you and your girls are crazy. It has to be your girls. It has to be the way you talk to them. And God started just leading me to see the meaning inside of it that, look, through this conversation and relationship you have, you can teach them almost anything. They come to you with honor to hear what you have to say. Like, my girls say, Mommy, what do you think about this? We need to discuss something with you. My sister says, I need to talk to you privately. I have private conversation with you. By the time the sister to hear the talk, and you can even go live on the talk, nothing private inside, but just the idea that I want to hear what you think about this. That's been amazing for me. So for me, yeah. So you want to see a value in the child, have the conversation, build the skill, give her the self-esteem, Make sure the relationship between you and her is not hostile. And be realistic in your conversations. So that's it. Five of them.
This is so inspiring.
Thank you,
Thank
Mama.
you.
Thank you, Mama.
Do you have any questions? Please leave them in the comments. And
We need to remind people of the boot camp.
yes, that's what I'm about to talk about. So
Thank you, Mama.
everything Irene has shared now, she's actually going to coach our own daughters for free over 3 days this week. It's actually
Yeah.
this week. Oh. Okay,
This week, go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, yeah?
so there's a free coaching boot camp this week, and it's according to the age of our children. So it's going to be very specific, very intentional, very targeted. So there's like
Yeah.
3 to 5. I'm registered, right? 6 to 8. Then there's like 9 to 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to post the details on the page. For some reason, I can't pin it. But please tell us about the boot camp and what to expect.
So let me just type how they can register. Drop my pizza, I'll slap you. Don't worry, I'll slap you before coaches will look for me. You're being a bully right now. Send the word girl via WhatsApp. Let me just post how they can register
Please
so
do.
that you can pin it. So first and foremost, we started the bootcamp in August 2021, and we've held it every holiday. And what happens is that we bring girls in and we have practical conversations with them around body safety issues. This particular camp is titled My Emotions, My Safety. And I'm going to be exploring for girls, especially girls 9 and up, the anxiety issues, pressures, pressure from friends, pressure to fit in. How do we navigate the emotional part that, okay, you know what the right thing to do is, but now you're going through a lot of pressure to give in to what's happening around you. So we're going to be doing this over the next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for 3 days. And the whole idea is the girls can come for 1 hour each day, learn something, ask questions, and it can shape them. It's, for me, the beginning of a journey where girls take responsibility for themselves and for the kinds of life they want to live. When I was in school, we used to have people come and talk to 1,000 of us. Some of us are sleeping, we are not understanding. Do you understand? It doesn't have the substance that it should. But when it comes to the boot camp, they're watching live. They can always watch the replay and replay and replay again. But most importantly, they hear, we try to make the sessions practical from the perspective of the child. So we don't talk like adults. Choose right. Choose right. Make decisions that will honor God. I understand that's what you're trying to say. But when you're talking to teenagers, the question is, I know you like the boy, but in a few weeks you will not, because that's how biology works. The crushes will pass. So very practical conversations. And it's designed for girls aged 3 to 17. Age 3 to 17, but all of them are not in the same class, so God forbid. We have a class for 3 to 5-year-olds, a different class for 6 to 8, a different class for 9 to 11, a different class for 12 to 14, a different class for 15 to 17-year-olds. And when you register, you get the timetable, everything in the WhatsApp group. And guess what? Registration is free. All you need to do to register is just send the word girl via WhatsApp to that number. Now, if you try to search that number, you don't get it on WhatsApp, send a chat to a close friend of yours with the number. Just put the number chat. Once you click on the number, it will show you that it's on WhatsApp. Then send the word girl and you get registered. You join a WhatsApp group. Tomorrow, we're releasing beautiful resources for you to print for your girls ahead of the bootcamp. It's absolutely free. Bootcamp is absolutely free. And the reason it is absolutely free is so that you don't have any excuse for not letting your daughter come. I've heard people say our school has resumed. My daughter has been in school. My apologies. I was using the Abuja calendar to plan, and Abuja schools are resuming on the 22nd. So it was 22nd that I had in mind that schools will resume. But for girls that have already resumed, those that are not in boarding, of course, they can join and they can watch the replay every evening. They can print the resources, follow the classes, do their tasks, still come to the WhatsApp group and submit their task, even though they watch replays. It's still going to be as rich as they can get. And in the WhatsApp, the girls are able to ask questions outside of call time. They're able to ask questions. If after the session is over, a child has a question, they can drop it in the WhatsApp group. Some we will answer through voice notes. Others, when we come the next day, we'll start with answering the questions that they dropped before we get into the lesson of the day. Bottom line, we've designed this program to ensure that girls in Nigeria and as many countries as possible start getting the right kind of body safety education, one that truly empowers them to make the right decisions anywhere they find themselves in. So that's it in a nutshell. It's absolutely free. So all you need to do is send the word girl via WhatsApp, not SMS, so via WhatsApp to this number. That's it, Mama. That's it. Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone that joined. If you joined late, the replay will be up on both our pages. So please watch it. Let your friends watch it as well so that we all join this bootcamp starting on Tuesday.
Thank
You can register
you, Mama.
tonight.
Yes, you can register
So just
tonight. So register now. As if you register now, you're getting in now. Register, register, register. We've been waiting for you. We've been waiting for you. Register. I'm going to put back all the updates we've posted before. We'll repost it before we go to bed tonight. So get registering now. And registration is super easy. There's no form to fill. Once you write girl, that's all. That's all. No form to fill. There's no form to fill at all. Just in case you're one of those moms that you're having a very lazy day, you don't want stress, we agree with you. So we made sure it's super easy for you.
thank you. How to register is pinned here. Send the word girl to this WhatsApp number. You can just save the number now. 0810044320.
Absolutely. So the moment you
And
register, that you receive a message. The message will tell you how to join the group, the WhatsApp group for the class. When you join the WhatsApp group, there are other smaller groups for different ages. So join the WhatsApp groups where your children's ages are. And then we're going to repost the announcement that has come before today.
yes.
So that you can see.
Okay. Save the number. Thank you for joining. And Irene for always.
Thank you so much, Tinuke. It's been an honor hanging out with you today. You're a big blessing to me, and I value you. Thank you so much, Mama. Have a beautiful evening. The next time I'm in Lagos, I'm coming to look for you. I have to meet you in person on it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sis. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night,
Bye.
sis. Bye.
Thank you, Coach Irene.
Thank you, Mama.